Welcome to Game of Roses. This is Pace Case.
This is Bachelor Clues, and this is our recap of episode 2 of Jenn Tran's Bachelorette season 21. This is peak Bachelor. There's no other way to say it.
This episode was perfect. It was perfect.
Yeah,
you had 2 perfect group dates, 1 perfect one-on-one. I produced tears.
What?
At one point. I'll tell you when.
Holy shit. I can't wait. I have no
Produced
idea. Tears. What could you produce tears
And I
at?
was laughing my ass off.
Laughing my ass off. I had no tear play, but definitely laughing my ass off. I just loved that it was rivalry done right. It was homage.
Gorgeous rivalry.
Many gorgeous rivalries. You had people coming in and out of this rivalry. Who's the rivalry? I don't even know anymore. Is it him? Is it him?
It's Devin versus several people.
Yeah, it definitely is. And you had a very interesting, what I thought, legacy play from old Aaron Erb. Certainly he was told by young Noah Erb, to do a certain thing. We'll get into that, of course. Mm-hmm. And we had our first one-on-one, which was played basically perfectly. And that date, as we know, is statistically very important. The whoever gets the first one-on-one date usually goes very far in the season, has a better chance at getting crown if they don't wind up winning the ring. So I think Marcus is in the driver's seat here, but we will get to all of that, of course, in our recap. But before we do, we have 2 quick bits of business. One, we have a brand new shirt out to commemorate Jenn Tran's historic season 21. It has Jenn Tran, an image of Jenn Tran riding on the claw machine that is artfully done by Ella Tolkien, who has done a bunch of our shirts for us, including the 4TRR praying, bleeding eyes woman.
Bloody-eyed. 4TRR lady that Katie said she saw herself as.
Yeah.
As the Bachelorette.
You know, that the praying hands, bloody eye lady, there's a little bit of her in all of us, I think. And we also must mention that every Monday this season, we're going to be at 33 Taps in Silver Lake out here in Los Angeles, California, to watch the show.
Well,
every Monday.
This one that it will be tonight is going to be my last one for the summer. So come definitely to this one.
I'll try to be at all of them. But the one that is for this show that we're now recording, so it will already have happened by the time you're listening to this. If you came out and saw Lizzie, great.
Oh,
that
was
your last opportunity.
Yeah,
if
you're
not,
right.
You'll never see her again until next
It will have
year.
already happened. My bad.
But now let's move on. Let's get into this, Lizzie, because there's so
one.
much. There's so much to talk about. So let's just dive right in.
I loved this episode.
As did I.
I felt so happy and full of joy when I concluded it. I was just like, wow.
I did too. It was, let's just get into it. We start with this teaser, and we see Devin and Thomas N are fighting and making fools of themselves, they're saying, and it ends with Thomas N telling Devin to go inside and F off. And I'm like, this is a group date after party. This is a cocktail party. I don't know what it is, but this is a rivalry more than we've ever seen in the past seasons. Like super fast. We're in episode 2 and you've already got this happening.
I was like, you got Thomas, who I think we discussed how we thought he would be going to hometowns last episode, saying fuck you on camera, completely destroying kind of a crown edit.
He got sucked in. I mean, we'll get into Thomas's play, but he's just not a good player, point blank. Thomas N is a bad player.
Devin was getting everyone to lose their shit.
Yeah.
He was it was masterful.
The producers love him for sure.
Poking the bear.
We'll get into that as we go, but let's start out here with portion 1 begins after this teaser. It's morning in Australia. We see some kangaroos hopping around, a koala on a tree. People are on a beach. Jen is walking the beach in, as she says, Melbourne. They get everybody to say it, Melbourne, Melbourne, Melbourne. Can we not pronounce it Melbourne? Is that not okay anymore?
I have no idea.
Melbourne. She does some cartwheels.
I'm just going to go like Melbo when I go.
Oh, nice. Mel B.
Soon, maybe.
Jen does some cartwheels in front of this fountain, and I'm like, damn, they've already got her doing acrobatics just in the first 10 seconds of this.
How did she do that? We had Charity doing a back handspring. We got Jenn Tran doing a cartwheel.
This is basically...
I haven't been able to do a cartwheel since I was a child.
Yeah, I haven't tried one in a long time. But I think now if you want to wear the crown, you got to be able to do some kind of an acrobatic maneuver in your second episode. I think that's just going to be par for the course now, usually in front of a fountain. We see Jen then saying in her best Australian accent, "Crikey, good day, mate." Now, I will say this. Hats off to Jenn Tran for the attempt here. It is no good day, Sheila's.
Good day, Sheila's.
It is not that.
I felt the haunting absence of the word Sheila's here.
Me too.
Good day, Sheila's.
Good day, Sheila's.
For those who don't know, we're talking about Pilot Pete's season 24 of The Bachelor, intro to the fantasy suites, where he walks into a hotel room that contains Hannah Sluss, Victoria Fuller, and the Madison Pruitt. And he says in his best Australian accent, "Good day, Sheila's."
Good day, Sheila's.
God, I loved it.
After they've been having these very intense conversations, because for the first time they have forced all three of the top players to be in the same hotel suite.
For fantasy suites. Yeah, it was brutal. Maybe they'll do that again here. We don't know. So she ITMs about the historic nature of traveling this early in the game. She says there's 18 guys left, all very hot. And we see the guys traveling. We get the jet graphic going across the sea. And then Jen corrects a producer on the pronunciation of Melbourne, saying it's Melbourne, not Melbourne. She says she's vibing with the night scene here and the beach scene, even the kangaroo scene. And we see 3 kangaroos pop their heads up from some tall grass, and they were not my creatures of the week.
I mean, can you believe it?
Oh, I can. Crikey! This episode had so many goddamn creatures. My head was spinning.
I wrote down several named creatures.
Same.
I was like, usually you only get at least one name for a creature per episode, if that.
I agree. I was blown away by that, just the sheer volume of creature play here. We get the famous shot of all the guys screaming Jen's name from some local landmark. Here we see the guys on the Evan Walker Bridge over the Yarra River, and they scream, "Jen!" Then the guys come into their Marriott room and do some I Love Clevelanding, jumping on beds, kind of crashing
Someone
together.
Someone somersaulted onto the bed. I liked that little play.
You can't be outdone by Jenn Tran. You're competing with cartwheels.
Old Aaron Herb says he's going to do yoga on the balcony. I wonder if it's yoga with Adrian.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Yoga with Adrian. I'm Adrian. This is Sweet Benji.
And Thomas is the first postman reading the date card. And it is our first group date
of the season. Let's find love in Melbourne. Sam in, Marvin, Brian, Jonathan, Aaron, Grant, Jeremy, and Devin. And they even get Thomas in, I said. They even have him saying Melbourne now. So there was something going on with this whole cast where they're all saying Melbourne.
And that is the real pronunciation?
I don't know. I simply can't know. I guess I'll accept what Jenn Tran is saying as true.
How do you pronounce Melbourne?
You're Googling how to pronounce Melbourne? Is it Melbourne?
I mean, the Google ladies, I guess this is the American pronunciation, Melbourne.
Yeah, I don't know. Devin gets an ITM explaining that he's already strategizing about how to peel Jen off from the group date to get some one-on-one time. Jen then meets them in front of the Queen Victoria Market. This is going to be what we call a when in Rome date, which is you just kind of go into the city, local landmark perhaps, eat some of the foods, drink some of the drinks, and Devin then jogs to her.
Dance in the streets.
Sometimes we see some dance in the streets. We see Devin here jogging to her. He wins the race, gets that first hug, and Jen explains that this date is going to be that win in Rome date. Sam
He's the only one in the race.
The other guys are kind of fast walking at least, but they're not doing what he's doing.
No.
And this is what you got to do.
He is like, I am the first responder of every single situation that I'm in.
Yeah. He doesn't care. If you're not first, you're last in his mind.
And
Sam,
he lifted Jen, which I also love.
He tried to pull her into a standing hooju. She didn't take.
Yeah.
She knows better. This is Jenn Tran. This is not some rookie player who don't know the game. She's like, if I hooju you now, it's too much a sign of favor. I cannot do that, and she does not. Sam in reveals he doesn't like olives. I thought that was interesting.
I don't eat olives a ton. That might be the best olive I've ever had.
They all eat some Vegemite, have some negative reactions to it, and then they have some shots of whiskey called desert oyster shots. And they are told by the man who gives them these shots that they contain kangaroo testicles, which they've all just eaten. This man was almost my Jorge Moreno, but not quite.
I know. He tricked them?
I guess. But I mean, you're taking a shot and there's some kind of like chewy thing. And I don't know. Was this real? I don't know. I don't know what's going on here anymore, but.
I didn't want to eat any of the things they ate in this. It was like the opposite of the bear. I also thought this might be my bystander. They're talking about kangaroo balls in their mouth, and we see this voiceover of Jen where she's like, I want people to make these special moments. You know, we've seen that highlighted again and again on the group dates. And we hear that Salmon is sad that he's turtling, that he is not getting time. That is a big theme of this episode. And we then see Grant can't have dairy. I was like, this is a good move. I would pretend to be literally allergic to all of this.
Yeah,
like,
sorry, can't do it.
Sorry,
Can't
I literally can't. I'm a vegan.
I have bad allergies to all these foods. We see Devin here ITMing that he doesn't want to be one of the many, and he needs to do everything he can to let her know that he is who he is as a person. And he says, I'm not going to apologize to my wedding guests about how I met my wife. This is a straight not here to make friends play. He's setting himself up to be a villain, point blank. If you make a not here to make friends play, especially this early in the game, you will be a villain at some point, if not in this episode. And we saw how that played out for him. But he pulls her from the group date to get that one-on-one time after telling her he has a surprise for her. And then old Aaron Erb, as I have it noted here, OEB, but it should be OAB, leads the other guys in a disrespect defense. Not cool that Devin did this, and we start to see our first example of why second audience play is so important. If the group turns against you on a group date, you could be completely screwed here. And we head into...
I gotta say, I was disappointed to see old Aaron Erb getting into this.
I mean, we'll get to it a little bit, but I just can't believe... His brother is young Noah Erb. This is a man who survived Paradise Season 7, where he was forced by producers to do a fake breakup with Abigail Herringer at the prom date on that season. And then they're still together. They're engaged. Are they married now? No, they're engaged.
But remember his main game, he did engage in rivalry play.
Absolutely. But young Noah Erb is somebody who knows all too well how the producers will try to manipulate you. And he must have told old Aaron Erb, hey, dude, watch out for this, watch out for this. As a play that we see later, he clearly told him to do. We'll get to that. But I just don't buy that old Aaron Erb doesn't understand that the producers are doing this. The producers have set up the little ice cream thing for him. This is
all the steals.
All the steals. Devin is not in control of any of this stuff. And so to see old Aaron Erb getting so bent out of shape about it, I'm like, does he not get it? Did young Noah Erb not tell him things?
That's what I mean. Maybe they should have chatted more, because I was like, Devin he's cracking Thomas. He's cracking old Aaron Erb, like some heavy hitters.
But he's also doing himself a disservice. We move into portion 2 here. And so we see this little moment where Sam takes Jen to get her the ice cream, and they're kind of feeding each other the ice cream. Devin ITMs that he doesn't want to be just a guy in the group again. Jen ITMs that she loves Devin making his own little moments. Exactly what she said in the beginning. He's doing the thing that she said it had to happen. Now, you have to understand, the producers tell her to say that because they know they're setting up this moment with Devin later. So this is all orchestrated. It's all pro wrestling. Finally, the guys meet up with him again. Jen apologizes for leaving with Devin, and old Aaron Erb says, it's okay. I wasn't implying it was I wasn't implying it was you to blame here. I was implying it was Devin, basically, saying this is his fault, not your fault.
Yeah. A bold move. Again, I'm like, you're getting wrapped into this. Sorry, there is a spider.
Oh, is it Goldie?
It is. Oh my God.
It's difficult for me, I wrote here, to believe that he doesn't know it's being done by producers. I just... Maybe he's giving a performance. Is this a solid performance that he's doing? Hello?
Sorry. I really don't like spiders. I am just like Hakeem.
Oh, nice.
It could be a performance, you know. He's doing a performance with the book.
I know.
As we shall get to.
Well,
and also, Aaron was the first responder during this first part, so he's also playing it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of old Aaron Erb. If his game is 100% game or if he really is getting suckered in by Devin's antics, I don't really know at this point. But they head to a building that has a sign in front of it that says Melbourne International Comedy Festival. I did do some sleuthing to see if this was real and possible, and indeed, it was shot from March 27th to April 21st, and the shooting dates of Bachelorette were March 28th to May 16th, so it does line up. They head inside to find Beck Charlwood delivering some stand-up comedy, 13.1K Instagram followers for Beck. I thought she might be my Jorge Moreno, but no.
Me too.
So we
Not
see
in this dense episode.
I know there was so much. There were so many creatures, so many Jorges, so many errors, so many
She
plays.
makes a coming joke. Like, she is just on fire in her little moment. And I love this type of group date, but people should have prepared better jokes.
I know. This is in our book.
If you're writing the jokes when you're actually there, you have messed up. This is in our book. We talk about different written material that you should prepare and memorize. Because
that book is called How to Win the Bachelor.
You don't want to be in this.
Yeah, exactly. You should have a song. You should have some stand-up roast style jokes that you can just slot a name into, and you should also have some kind of.
I do think Sam N maybe did have that.
Oh yeah, maybe there were a
When he
couple of
was
guys
like-
who were pretty good at it.
When he was like, there's a lot of really nice, like, special men and Devin or something, like sweet men.
Yeah, there were some decent little jokes that they had in their roast thing. At the end of Devin's, he adjusts the mic stand to make it shorter and says, "And now Jeremy's up." That was kind of a funny joke, I thought. Jeremy himself.
Body shaming.
What's that?
Body shaming.
I thought it worked. They're roasting. That's what a roast is. He
I
says,
don't like body shaming.
for me,
Do you
the
remember
joke
the
worked.
Ashley Hebert one? Yeah.
No, I don't. What was it?
They all made fun of how she had flat boobs.
Oh, yes, I do remember that.
William, your jokes around the house are starting to fall kind of flat. Almost as flat as Ashley, but not quite. You're actually the first girl I've ever dated with a smaller chest than me.
That was a different time.
When she was the Bachelorette.
Yeah. This is making fun of another one of the guys, which I feel like is admissible. Nonetheless, Sam N gets up there. He says, everybody has a beautiful soul except Devin. I think that's the moment you're talking about. Grant says he saw Jonathan.
Yeah, beautiful souls. Yeah.
Grant says he saw Jonathan with his ass out, but Devin's the only one full of shit. Old Aaron Erb says calls Devin the budget version of Pete Davidson, which means he looks like him without the big bleep and sense of humor. That was my winning roast joke.
It's a very good joke.
I agree.
I laughed at that one as well. I bet they roasted other people, but they're just making it look like everyone roasted Devin to make it look like he's the enemy of the house. Because I kind of rewatched a little bit of it, and I was just curious about who his team was. And I was like, oh, it's the esthetician Brian and a couple other people who have gone home. So I'm like,
Yeah.
it's going to be harder to hide.
We see it a little bit later, too, with what I'm calling recruiting, which is when, if you're in a rivalry, you got to split off and go try to get guys on your side. That's really like you're recruiting your team at that point. Whose side you going to be on, dude? Portion 3 starts us off here with this group date after party. It's in some kind of a beautiful old house, it looks like, or maybe that's where they're staying. I wasn't sure, like, some of the locations, they didn't do a good job of setting up, like, what these places are. But we see...
But they were all beautiful.
Yeah, great locations, all of them. And we see that Jonathan here gets the first responder at the after party. And he has his favorite high school socks on. And he calls himself a fat 13-year-old at heart who had a glow up. She says she also had a glow up. And her manic hobby is painting, she says. He says he draws. And
I loved that moment.
I do too.
Cute.
It was a nice, cute little moment between them. I mean, blown out of the water by some of the other plays, of course, but a good, solid mid-season floater type play here. Devin then tells the other guys that he hopes the ice cream stunt he pulled is going to get him that group date rose. And old Aaron Erb says, "A little too soon, dude." And then old Aaron Erb ITMs that Devin's high on his horse and he's trying to bite his tongue in this moment. He doesn't want to say anything. They're building that rivalry. Then we see Grant with his one-on-one time. And he asks her what shaped her into the woman she is. And she plays her parental divorce, PTC, that put her to work at an early age, and she's grateful for everything she's done. And Grant says he wants a super close family. Jen thinks it's sweet that he's thinking about family. He pulls her into a cuddle, and he says, this was my favorite part of the day. And he then says that Jen says, what about you taking my last name, Grant Tran? They get into this little conversation about when they get married, she's going to have to take his last name. And she's like, no, dude, you're taking my last name. I thought that was a good moment for her.
I loved that. And it gives further evidence to my conspiracy theory about her proposing.
Yeah. And Grant gets a kiss here.
This was some great play by Grant, and he loves love level 2 here.
Yeah.
Really pushing that he's ready to start a family kind of thing. I thought it was great.
And he gets
kissing
the first
her
kiss
feels
of the
like
episode.
kissing the person I'm going to marry.
Beautiful. Then we see another date card comes back at the house. It's from Marcus. It's a one-on-one. Let's fall in love. We know what that means. We've already seen the promos. And we know Marcus has done 250,000 skydiving things. He's going to be skydiving.
Oh, I didn't know what it was.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think they've used this
I try
exact
to not
same
watch
phrase.
the promos.
Oh. Even from just the phrases, what could that possibly mean? I believe they've used that exact same phrase on multiple skydiving dates, or at least leap of faith, which they also said multiple times on this date. It's falling in love and leap of faith.
Yes,
that always
they
means
really
skydiving.
hit the love metaphors hard in this episode.
Yeah.
I loved. We then get in this part, Aaron versus Devin, and Aaron accuses Devin of being for TWR, says, you're wasting time for Jen. You wouldn't be good for her. You're not ready. She wants to be with a man, not a boy. If this is performance art, I will be very impressed. I don't think
like
it is.
I think it is because it's just like his attack it's just so generic. Like, what do you mean? I thought the thing was that he was like being disrespectful to the guys. She wants a man, not a boy is like, that wasn't ever part of the line of attack here.
What does that mean?
He's just like throwing stuff out. Yeah, I guess. I don't really know.
I just really didn't. I really thought he wouldn't get into this, but maybe he'll get out next episode. We see this one-on-one time for the old Aaron Herb, the AOH. The OAH.
It's E.
It's E?
Yeah, it's ERB.
Oh. Oh my gosh. I've been writing HERB. I've just been calling him Herb.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm almost positive it's ERB. Let me look at this very quickly.
You're right. I think you're right.
Let me look at it very quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, Noah Herb is ERB.
Silent H. Very silent.
Okay, so he admits to Jen here that he's struggling a little bit on the group date. He's passive, but he feels lucky. He calls her gorgeous. And we see Devin then is trying to go out and do some recruitment to Brian to join his team. He's like, I'm not trying to tell anybody else how to play their goddamn game. Why is OAE telling me how to play my goddamn game? And then Devin ITMs that he thinks OAE is trying to get in his head and throw off his game, but he needs Jen to know that he's there for her and he'll do whatever, any way possible. And he loves ice cream, obviously, he says. Then we cut to a shot of some wheels of an unknown cart coming into the place where they are. They're going past the camera as we hear a Pop Goes the Weasel kind of calliope detuned music in the grand tradition of an ice cream truck.
Dark version of it.
Yeah, it's like a horror kind of vibe.
Oh, this was so good.
And
this whole sequence was like my favorite part of the
unreal.
episode.
But this is so he comes in and he interrupts OAE and tries to get the steal. And OAE tries to block by requesting a minute extension. And Devin says the ice cream is melting. And Devin gets the steal by just kind of bullying his way in. So far, this is the second steal we've seen. The first one
He said not asking you, telling.
Just a straight
and then we see
power
and
bully.
then when we see the reverse steal, the Italian steal, they use the same language as each other. It was like a play.
Yes. And this harkens back to Brian Otts' first steal of Jeremy when he was in the car and he came out and just would not take no for an answer. These power bully steals are really kind of what we're seeing now in the game. It's kind of the contemporary version of it. I think that play style is here to stay, at least for the rest of the season. Like, I don't see any of these guys not doing it.
Who's gonna give up?
Exactly. It's like a battle of wills, and Jen is just sitting there like, what the hell's going to happen? But it's also like, in this moment, OAE has to know he's got a fucking cart with an ice cream bowl on it. He didn't just manufacture that. A producer gave it to him and said, go in there
and
now.
Sent it in when
Yes.
he's talking to him, obviously. So, but he also was prepared, maybe by producers, with the line against a block steal of like, oh, well, then the ice cream will melt.
Yeah.
It's like a 4 TRR, like, get in there. I loved it. And then we see someone who's kind of hiding in the shadows a little bit this episode, Jeremy, stirring the pot.
This was
And
unreal.
he's like, when he tells him about the steal, he says to OAE, why don't you go back in there?
I almost gave this my play of the game. It was wild. You can tell Jeremy's just like, oh shit, these guys are self-destructing. And he's like, yeah. Dude, don't let him come in there with his
just
ice
go
cream
back in
cart.
there.
Just go in there, dude. Right before this also, we see a little of the one-on-one time with Devin at the after party from his steal, where he's like, I hope you don't think I was arrogant or egotistical. And she's like, no, I don't think that at all. You're fun and being yourself, and that's what I love about you. This, to me, was a love level 1. You tell me.
Oh, interesting.
What I love about you? I don't know. You tell me. Is it?
It doesn't feel like an expression of a feeling.
Okay.
Though,
Fair.
to me.
I thought perhaps it was, but what have you? But it
That's
at
what
the
I
very
love about
least,
you the most.
at the very least, it's Jen essentially saying like, no harm, no foul.
I'll give it a love level 1.
Thank you very much. Then OAE comes in for this counter steal, this Italian steal, named after the 2 Italian players on Lorenzo Borghese's season 9 of The Bachelor, who did this kind of counter steal after Lorenzo Borghese was stolen from them by 2 other players. They immediately turned around and did the counter steal, hence the Italian steal.
I wrote a lot of exclamation points after this Italian steal.
OAE notices the ice cream is melted and they didn't even touch it. And so he comes, he's like, you have me touch your ice cream. My turn now, dude. And Devin tries a block. He says he needs a few more minutes, but OAE says just what you're saying. I'm not asking, dude. I'm telling you. And he gets that Italian steal. Beautiful
They
play.
also repeat, I think, the line, you got your moment in there as well, which was just like, it was beautiful. And he gives up, and Marvin does some great colorful narration here. He calls it a Royal Rumble.
Well, that's from WWE. That's a wrestling
Oh, it
event.
is?
Yeah. And we also see on old Aaron Erb's time with her.
It's a great turn of phrase.
Yeah. I mean, this, to me, this is very pro wrestling. Everything we watch tonight is like a highly orchestrated dance of all these players doing this wild stuff. Old Aaron Erb tells Jen that he hopes she didn't feel like she was in the middle of anything. She's like, I do a little, but it's not your fault, she says. She is conveying to him, I get it. The producers are forcing this to happen.
Are doing steals.
That's what I
read
took that
that
to
the
mean.
same way.
That's a high level
And that you
player.
have to compete for time, like stealing is part of it. And, you know, she played a season. She knows exactly how steals work.
Absolutely. I love that for her. Devin
love
ITMs
that.
that he's not here for Aaron. And he says, Aaron is lost in the buddy-buddy system, but it's not brolette, it's bachelorette. This was could have tried harder. Brolette, that isn't it, in my opinion.
No,
I appreciate it, though, Devin. I appreciate it.
I mean, I appreciate everything he's doing in this episode because
Yeah,
it
he
is
carried
so bombastic.
Yep.
It is wild. It is, and he's still able to save his first audience game somehow through it. It's great.
Yeah, I agree.
And we see Oh, Jen is telling them, like, I just want you to love each other and get along. We get a love level 1 from Devin and a kiss. I like you.
Yeah.
She says, you don't like vanilla, you like mint. And he says, I like you.
He played that
Great.
perfectly. It was great impromptu in the moment. He saw the kiss lead in line. He took it. A brilliant turn of a phrase here from him. He is, look, say what you will about his play style. The dude's good. It's
He
that
is
simple.
very entertaining. He reminds me of, like, I keep saying this, I don't know why, but he reminds me of Grocery. If Grocery were more of like
I mean, we never got to see Grocery play.
I don't know, taking some really big swings.
I think Grocery, based on what I saw him do in The GOAT, I think his play style would be too nonchalant. I don't think he would actually do well in a main season of Bachelorette. Just my 2 cents. I could be totally wrong, but that's how I read it. We then see, after this kissing of Devin,
I mean, he didn't do well on night 1.
What's that?
He didn't do well on night 1.
No, he was a night 1 guy. He lost the game in night 1. OAE then tells the other guys that the double interruptions made him mad, and he ITMs that his time was cut short, and it felt targeted and intentional to get underneath the skin. And it's like, it is, dude, from the producers. Devin returns and says he's sorry about the way he
You are
operated.
being targeted.
Yeah, you're being targeted, and it's working successfully. Devin returns, and he tells the other guys, sorry about the way I operate if that offended anybody. But OAE is asking him to change his personality, and he's not asking anyone else to do that. And what he really means by that is play style. And he mentions Jeremy, and Jeremy's like, dude, don't put my name in your mouth. And he's like, you have a name, I can say it. And then Devin,
I loved that.
Yeah, it was
you
great.
have a name, I could say it. It was
Yeah,
so
I was like, whoa,
crazy.
fuck.
And it was also like, Jeremy, you were the one that stirred the pot. You are in it. This little bit, I wrote, stay in your lane. It reminded me so much of that. That
Totally.
little fight.
That was Luke Parker in Hannah Brown's
Nostalgia.
season, going down the line of every guy he was on a group date with and goes, you stay in your lane, you stay in your lane, you stay in your lane, you keep doing what you're doing, you stay in your lane. I think Tyler Cameron was one of the people that he admonished in that moment.
Stay in your lane. You. Keep doing you.
But Devin gets this great line here where he's like, let me tick, bro. Let me tick. He's like, you don't like the
I
way
love
I'm ticking.
that.
Let me tick, bro. Let me tick. Great line. That, to me, was like the line of the show, other than Jen
Yeah, it
talking
was a
about
great line.
kangaroo
Let me
testicles.
check.
And then Jen returns, picks up that group date rose, and who's going to get it? Grant? Now, this was a strange one to me, I got to say.
I thought this was the safe play.
Too safe. Devin or OAE should have gotten this rose. That's how you trump up that animosity. That's how you really build that rivalry. Grant is like not even part of the main story. I don't know why producers did this.
I feel like it was to keep the rivalry going and say neither one of them has won yet. They're still duking it out.
Yeah, I
Fight
guess.
another round.
But like you want, in my opinion, if I'm producing this season, Grant does not get this group date rose. I would have given
Devin
it to
does.
Devin. Yeah.
Yes.
And then OAE would have gone insane, or at least had to bump his
And-
character up to the next level.
OAE would have had to go insane, but also Devin with Rose in pocket
Yes.
is going to be even more out of pocket.
Yes. Imagine that at the cocktail party when he takes her first after he tells all the guys, whatever, I won't do it. He's already got a fucking rose and he does it. Those dudes are going to lose their minds.
You
They blew
see
an
Grant
opportunity
like
here.
admonish someone later when he has Rose in pocket, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, it just comes. You just get an air of authority that you already have a rose.
Totally. I think they blew an
like,
opportunity
I'm a
here,
front
personally, the
runner.
producers. I would have booked this different. All right, portion 5. It is the one-on-one date with Marcus. This is an adventure skydiving date. And of course, they're, leading up to this skydiving date. There's the whole Jen is nervous and she needs somebody who can help calm her down and get her through this ordeal. And of course, that's going to be Marcus. This is the narrative for every skydiving date, literally every one, or anything where they have to climb up a building or walk across some bridge or something like this. Anything that requires like heights is always this.
I felt it with the skydiving one, though. I felt her fear. I was like,
Sure.
I would feel the exact same way.
Remember Rachel Kirkconnell. Season
It's what
25.
I think about every time I see anyone skydive now.
Me too. I'm like, is this going to be it for me? Because I know this show doesn't have a great track record. How many skydiving dates have they done? Maybe 6 or 7, I think, if I'm accurate in that. And one of those had Rachel Kirkconnell bashing her face into the ground and being bruised so badly they had to apply layers of makeup to cover it up in further shoots. And the skydiving instructor who was with her got a broken leg.
The broken leg when Chad went deep in the skydiving forums to find out what happened.
I was curious. I was like, did they disappear that guy? Is he dead? What
did
happened?
Disappear him.
They kind of did disappear
He
his story at
broke
the
his
very
leg.
least. Anyway, I'm simply saying, there's not a good track record on The Bachelor with skydiving. It should be 100% safety, in my opinion, and it ain't. So there's a little nervousness. I think it's real for her. But we see them get up into the...
I would do it in a big bubble. In an Ed Waysprott bubble.
Yeah, just bounce off the ground.
Make sure I'm not hurting myself.
They go up into the air here, and they jump out. We get some great footage of them free falling, set to some like music box style music that fades into like the hero score, the big sweeping, like they've done it. And Jen ITMs here that it's like a dream, being able to overcome this fear, makes her realize she has more strength and courage than she thought. And Marcus showed up for her, and she needed that. It's like, what do you mean he showed up for you? He's on this reality show, and they said, you're going on this date. And he's like, okay.
He's reassuring her, giving calm energy. In my opinion, too calm. When she was like, you're not even scared. Like, that would freak me out about a person.
He's done this for a living. In combat situations. Why would
he
he?
doesn't know that yet.
Oh, right. He hasn't mentioned it yet. We're the only ones who have looked at all their Instagrams.
Only we looked at the Instagrams. She doesn't know. Like, he tells her later.
No.
But,
But on night one,
he
that
also
was his
does a
limo
great-
exit. He said, I had 3 goals
Well,
to go into space, serve my country, and no. I'm sure on night one
and
he
I've
told her
done
something
one
about
of
it.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably right. He does do a great line right before they jump. He's like, no matter what, we're never going to forget this first date.
Yeah.
And I loved that. It was very 4TRR. Like, no matter what with the jump, but also how, if they work out or not.
Yeah.
End game.
You know who else loved it? Jenn Tran. Because after they land safely and he gets a double kiss, she literally says, I love that.
I love that.
As he is telling her that she overcame her fear, and now he needs her to help him overcome his fear of opening up. A perfect play to go into the dinner portion. Now, the
Perfect.
skydiving date doesn't give you a lot of opportunity to speak to the other person while you're actually doing the date. Clearly, you're falling 220 whatever miles an hour it is toward the earth and certain death. So it's hard to get in a conversation. However, he's doing exactly what you need to do in a day portion here, which is go through whatever the activity is, lay out your benefit to the lead. I can calm you. I can help you get through this. And then twist it in the very end to say, now you're going to see another side of me when we come to dinner, the serious side that I need your help with. Brilliantly played. I mean, this
And
is
I
like...
have a wall, perhaps, that needs to be broken down. His emotional wall that she can help him with.
It was expert.
And we're going to see him break down those walls at the night portion.
Which this location was beautiful.
This was so pretty. It was this fancy library.
It's State Library in Victoria. Absolutely beautiful. And they've lit it perfectly. You see all the big stacks of books. You're surrounded by history, surrounded by knowledge. Maybe How to Win the Bachelor is in that very library. We don't know. Looking down upon them. I can only hope. I can only dream.
Ooh.
Thank you.
I hope that for Mel Bobo.
Please let somebody. I don't know if they're still staying in Melbobo, but I hope someone calls it that in the show.
I think. I mean, she said the Australians call it that. I think in Australian English, it is pronounced that. You know, it's like different. Anyway, they start to talk about how comfortable they were on the date and an easy choice for it. Comforting her and talking throughout the day, but not overdoing it. And he says he loves that she was conquering a fear. That's something that like takes a lot of strength and it's attractive to him in a woman. And he says, I want to share one thing with you, that I wasn't always this strong, confident person. I put a lot of work into becoming that man. And he begins this story about serving the country as an Army Ranger for 8 years. His job was kind of like raids in the middle of the night and go pick up bad guys around the world.
Yeah. Legit.
What?
I know. Already you're like, okay, this is a different type of dude. And then he talks
Like-
about this
The
terrifying moment when he's in some location, a
I
grenade
wrote
comes into the room.
GAFC after
that
that
mean?
job title. Jesus ate effing
Oh, I see.
Christ.
Yeah. He recounts this moment when a grenade was about to go off in this room and how it changed his life. He's basically got blown up by it, and he's like, a bunch of my best friends who had families and risked everything to come back and make sure that I went home. Then he spent months in the hospital breathing through a tube and multiple surgeries, had to spend months to learn how to walk again. And there's his life before the moment and his life after the moment. And now he's hyper aware of the fragility of life, and he wants to live a life that was worth saving. Wants to be
That
full of
line,
love.
live a life worth saving.
Yeah.
I got chills.
And he finishes this.
Live a life worth saving. JFC. I'm sobbing.
That's
is
when you
where
got
I
the tears.
Did the tear play.
Well,
Yeah.
right after that, he says he wants to be as full of love as humanly possible. And he also produces tears. And this PTC was my play of the game. I've just never quite, I mean, we've seen some great PTCs. This one, I have never seen anything quite like it.
Yeah.
It is military service.
No, I think it's the best PTC of all time. Like, it's perfectly played
all time.
with
maybe.
man. I mean, he's they ADR in the line hero weirdly into what she's saying, or I don't know. I guess, like, if this were played, I don't know, to overtake maybe a front runner or something, like at a different stage in the game, that's the only way I can see a PTC like being more, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I've cried at many PTCs. They hug, and we see that he loved that he let his guard down, and they had the amazing night, and she gives him that rose. I mean, I don't even think we needed to see that, but then they kiss, and he says he could see it being their forever person, could see us. Oh, wait, this is Jen. She says, I could see us falling in love with each other. It feels like the start of something really good. Sheepish look. She is so good.
I know.
Like, as the Bachelorette.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Like, she's incredible and so poised and, like, able to manage each situation in a, like, caring but, like, authoritative way. And like, you're basically like a big party host who's also having to do like all of this emotional labor.
Sure. And kick people off. She also understands it's a reality show.
Hard jobs.
She's
Yeah.
a good actress. She's
Yeah.
really pretending with a lot of these guys to be like interested or to care about them at all. And it seems to some degree genuine. She's good at that. And I think that that's something you have to be as the Crown. You know who you're going to kick off. You know who your final three are on night one, generally speaking. The rest of it is all acting. And she is doing it very well.
Generally speaking.
Oh, sorry. Jen.
Next portion.
Or really speaking.
We get this group date that I loved. This
was unreal.
What? This wildlife group date had it all. It was perfect. We get this. Jen says she loves animal people. She fosters kittens. And I love that we're getting just like all these details about Jen's life in this episode.
Same.
And
Yes.
we see that she's posing with a koala, a cute creature. Obviously, I'm like, okay, this is going to be my creature. No.
Same. She literally talks to it and feeds it a eucalyptus leaf. And I was like, how can any creature beat this? And then many did. I was stunned by the creature play here. So she ITMs all this love for animals and says they're doing an Australian wildlife photo shoot to the guys who show up. This is an artistic endeavor, wildlife photo shoot. We got Austin, Dylan, Hakeem, Jahan, John, Sam N, Spencer, Thomas, and Thomas N. Jen welcomes the guys to Australia. She introduces Xavier, the Australian
when the guys run up,
Yes.
we see some intense gaze play from Sam M, and he ITMs that the eye contact play lets him know it's still on, like that they still have this connection. I loved that.
I did too. We meet Xavier, who's an Australian wildlife expert, and I thought he was going to be my Jorge Moreno, but no. We then meet Eric, our Australian Franco Lacosta, and he was my Jorge Moreno, bystander of the week. Anybody who is a Franco Lacosta type. Franco Lacosta, by the way, is the time-honored photographer for I don't even know how many Bachelor and Bachelorette group dates, one-on-ones. He's always doing like wedding photography and stuff. And so here to see that he has an Australian counterpart, it just warmed my heart. And he's kind of like Franco Lacosta. He's a little
He
like him.
is. I feel like it was like, we're not flying Franco here. We'd love to have him. It's kind of an homage to him almost.
I thought it was too.
The wildlife man with the ponytail, Xavier, was my Jorge Moreno, bystander of the week. I loved the sheer joy and pleasure on this man's face as he made each man take these creatures. It was like he loved his craft, but he also loved his reality TV moment and like freaking them out with the animals. He was so good.
That's his job. It reminded me when I was a kid, there was a guy named Jack Hanna who would always come on Johnny Carson and he was like the San Diego Zoo creature master or whatever. And he would always bring in weird animals on Johnny Carson. It reminded me of that to some degree. But we also learned here from Eric, my Jorge Moreno, that this is a play for time. One guy is going to get a romantic dinner based on what? Nothing. This is a complete producer choice. It's totally subjective.
It's one of my favorite types of play for times where it's just like, could be anything, but you're going to be devastated. Just play your little hearts out in this artistic endeavor.
There's nothing you can do. Most likely this choice has already been made before the date. So they all get some outfits to make them look more, in quotes, Australian. They're kind of Crocodile Dundee-esque outfits. Sam is up first. He's paired with Baloo, described as a handful. Baloo is a lace monitor, this satanic-looking lizard, a serpent. And Sam M takes the pick with this lizard and Jen, and I thought this was going to be my creature, and it ain't.
This...
Oh.
No. Just
no? Oh. Jen calls Sam M sturdy and stable, and then ITMs they have a spark. Spencer's up next. He has a barn owl named Albert. Sorry.
Here it is. This... photo shoot moment between Sam M and Jenn Tran, in which he sticks out his tongue as he is playing with this lizard, what he calls similarly rough around the edges, an infamous Bachelorette term at this point, due to Gabby Windy's drama about being called rough around the edges. He sticks out his long tongue, and this was my
face play of the game.
I thought it was going to be Hakeem again, but
I
this
did too.
was great.
He was, we'll get to it. He was a little absent this week in the faceplay department. Spencer's up next.
Silent
with his
or
barn
silenced?
owl. Probably silenced. I bet there was good faceplay footage of him from this very next thing. Spencer is up next with a barn owl named Albert. Albert wastes no time flapping around, taking control of the scene, and I thought this was going to be my creature of the week, but it's not. Austin has what looks to be like a big mouse. Thomas has maybe a lemur or something. Jahan gets some little lemurs. All these are cute creatures. And then we see Hakeem. Hakeem is having this ITM where he says he wants something cute too, one of these little cuddly creatures like the other guys have. He says he hates tarantulas, hates spiders. It's his biggest fear. He's praying for no spiders. He has clearly said that in one of his applications, that that's his biggest fear, which is a mistake.
Yeah.
If you say it, you're going to have to deal with it. Yes.
Is it really a mistake, though? Conspiracy.
Oh, you think he doesn't care about spiders?
Is he setting himself up to overcome this hurdle so that he wins best at the photo shoot?
I mean, maybe, but he didn't.
Because he went through the most.
But he didn't, though. That's the thing. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know if he's really scared of spiders or not. I think he may be. And he gets, of course, Goldie.
I don't like him either.
The spider. And Goldie the spider was my creature of the week. I thought for sure Goldie the Spider was going to pull some massive faceplay out of Hakeem, and I was ready for it. That didn't quite happen. Hakeem seemed paralyzed.
Did some really funny reactions, though.
He did. He said some funny stuff, but he never got the big Hakeem eyes that we like to see, and his faceplay just didn't really become elevated in any way, even though he was having the spider crawl on him. I would have liked to have seen more, but thank you, Goldie.
It was when he takes the spider off, Hakeem, I do think it is a real fear because the relief on his face instantaneously as the spider is removed and he goes to shake that my bystander's hand was so funny. I
agree. The Goldie Hakeem dynamic duo was very funny. Maybe they could have a sitcom later. But again, no big face plays. I would like to see more. And then we see one more creature. Melanie is brought out. Melanie is a gigantic snake.
This gigantic snake that gets brought out, named Melanie, a she-boss snake who my bystander called Smooth Moves or something, and who then allows for one very important play to occur in which one strong gentleman steps up to the plate to win this play for time. Dylan, this snake was my creature of the week.
Yeah, it was a good creature. Everybody was asked, will somebody step up, basically let me put this snake on them? Everyone kind of volunteered, but Dylan was the one who was selected. This was all pre-planned, all of it.
Well, it was mainly him and Hakeem who were physically stepping forward, and Dylan bodies him.
Yeah.
I liked his play.
I think it was pre-planned. I don't think this was actually a play. I think producers wanted it,
I think everyone had good plays, but they just focused on this one to show why it was the win.
Yeah, sure. They had to have some justifiable reason that he gets this portion 8 play for time dinner, basically a one-on-one. It looks like it's a Mikasa at her abode, wherever she's staying maybe. And in this dinner, he explains that he gets calm around her. She has this calming energy. They talk about the scary snake, and she says she's never had a partner step up for her like that. They try so hard to crowbar in these you put that snake on your shoulder and that proves you'll step up for me in a relationship. It's like, no, you're on a reality TV show where you're getting screen time if you put the snake on your head. That's what's happening. It's like a little hard for me to take that leap still in this game.
Right? And the bystander said, is someone going to step up? It's not like he just went and did it.
They can, I think, dial that stuff back a little bit, and it would help to make this more real feeling. There is and
the love metaphors.
There's a corniness to The Bachelor that in modern reality TV, you don't see stuff like this in Love is Blind. You don't even really see it in Perfect Match, where they're crawl up this slide slathered in chocolate sauce to prove that you can climb any obstacle in a relationship. They're even saying that shit in Perfect Match, and it's it still doesn't seem as corny as this. Small complaint.
Well, there's definitely some corniness in Perfect Match as well. We see this this one-on-one dinner. She loves his calming energy with the snake, and he does really well on this one-on-one. She's basically talking about never having a partner step up and having the toxic relationships, and he talks about how he used to be really shy and played chess every day, and then he plays this gorgeous parental engagement shortness play of his parents got married after 6 months of dating, and they have a great relationship. He wants to have his relationship be like that. His dad played the same song every time his mom got in the goddamn car.
What was the song? We never were told the song. Missed opportunity.
I don't know what the song is, but it makes me want to do that.
What if it's 9 Inch Nails Closer?
I don't know that one. I don't.
It's a very famous one that's also very vulgar. I want to F you like an animal.
Oh.
You know it.
Is that you and me, baby, ain't nothing but mammals? No.
That's Bloodhound Gang. Back at the hotel, the guys come back in their Crocodile Dundee gear. This is the Losers March. We see it sometimes in a play for time like this. They explain to the other guys that it was a play for time, and Dylan won it. Jahan asks the other guys who were there on the group date to respect them and give them time with Jen at the cocktail party since they're not getting any at all. And there is a kind of a backing here by Thomas N. He's like, yes, respect that play, and then we'll respect you down the line. If you respect us tonight, we'll do turnabout if it's necessary later for you. And Devin says, well, I'm not going to fall to the back of the line, but I'll respect it. So we get a kind of agreement here. And this is an open second audience play. But I love this kind of open second audience play where these guys can come back and say, like, look, we got screwed over today by the producers. Let us have our time with her. And then if you get screwed over by the producers in the future, we'll help you out. We'll scratch your back if you scratch ours now. I thought that was a brilliant play because it's not saying like, we didn't get our time. Let us have our time. It's like, look, we all know this is a game. We know these producers are trying to rile us up. They screwed us over tonight. They're going to screw you over tomorrow, and we'll help you tomorrow if you help us now. Brilliantly laid out, I thought. And then Devin does what he does. We watched the fireworks as a result. Back on the one-on-one time with Dylan, he tells her that he thought he was going to be macho, but he's been feeling insecure. She says, yes, I have insecurities too. I get it. And they play a mirror, kind of too weird for human interaction play here. Jen ITMs that she appreciates that vulnerability. And of course, she picks up that group date rose after he talks about waiting for his MCAT results. And he gets the group date rose along with a couple of kisses here. And then back at the house, we see OAE just obsessing over Devin, calling him a pest. And an ITM, he's a pest. And he says,
I can't stop thinking about Devin.
Yeah, he says they have unfinished business. And OAE pulls Devin for this one-on-one time. OAE's like, I want to confront you directly and tell you I think you're very arrogant. And how you behave doesn't just affect you, it affects the other guys in the house, using a blanket kind of second audience defense. And the other guys are starting to take note of this brewing rivalry. And they're just like, Jesus, dude, leave me out of this. It's so early in the game for this to be happening, and to be happening at this level it's just wild. I was like glued to the screen.
It was
insane.
Explosive. This whole sequence, like this whole rivalry is just it's so good. I feel like we haven't seen a rivalry.
And there's
like
little
this
things in
while.
it. Like Devin here basically apologizes to OAE and he's like, look, I'm sorry, if that offended you or whatever, but that's just kind of like who I am. And OAE is like, no, you're an asshole. You shouldn't be doing this. And he's like, you don't know me that well, dude. And he's like, come on, Dylan. No. And he's like, my name's Devin, dude. This is the second time tonight OAE
really
has called him
hurts
Dylan.
his argument.
I think he's trying to rile
you think
him
he's
up.
poking
I think he's
the
doing it on purpose. Yeah, I think he's doing it on purpose. Whether he is or not. OAE calls him a bully. Devin
when he's
says,
talking
I pulled
shit,
her aside
he's
for ice
calling him
cream for
Devin,
25
though.
seconds. Yeah, to the other guys. That's what I'm saying. I think he knows his name. I think he's laying one on him here.
Interesting.
Then OAE says he has something to give him. He says, I brought this with me. It's my own book. It helped me grow as a person. He wants to see him win with Jen or whatever, he says, which was kind of weird. He's saying things that aren't like commensurate with actually being mad at this guy. He's just kind of like spewing shit out because he knows he has this thing to do, to give the book. He gives him this book called The Principles of Self-Growth by Dr. Brandon O'Connor. And this is not How to Win the Bachelor, which is the book he should have given. Now, it's important here to remember that Bennett Jordan gave OAE's younger brother a book just like this back in season 16 of The Bachelorette. But this book was a little different. It was the Harvard Business Review's 10 must-reads on emotional intelligence, a similar kind of play. Young Noah Erb definitely told OAE about that book thing. OAE probably saw it happen on TV. He probably watched his brother
watch the season.
have that happen. And now he's doing the exact, he's reversing the process. He's becoming the Bennett Jordan. I found this fascinating. There is a deep kind of lore reference here in the Bachelor franchise that like only some people are going to see this.
To emotional intelligence, the Corinne Taylor rivalry infamously was about emotional intelligence and you don't have emotional intelligence, etc.
Yeah. This was a great play, though. I don't know if OAE is getting a hometown based on everything that's now going on, but I will say this. What OAE is doing, for me, is brilliant. Because this is a nod to people who are deep into this shit like us, who will see him give that book and be like, oh my God, that's just what Bennett did to young Noah Earp. He also gave him, if I remember right, socks and a bandana or something. Do you remember this? He gave him two
what's
articles
in
of clothing.
There was one that was in a box, a big wrapped present.
That was it. All those items were in that box.
I love this play because I think that giving gifts to anyone other than the lead is always like,
yeah,
it's fun. It's like it's just strange. It seems kind of for TRR, but also like, is it? I agree. Know.
Look, it's a fan service play. This isn't going to get him anywhere with Jen. It's not really even going to get him anywhere with the producers. Certainly, it's not getting him anywhere with Devin. He's making fun of him, basically.
What do you mean? I think this gets him somewhere with producers.
I don't know if it does or not, because it's kind of inert. He's not like... It's not a big bombastic play. It's not like Devin doing the ice cream steal, you know? It's just kind of a little like, here you go. I'll give you another 45 seconds of content. But it's for us. Mainly it's for the fourth audience. For that contingent of the fourth audience who knows what he's doing here. Like, I was lit up when I saw this. I was like, oh my God, he's paying fan service. Thank you, OAE. I'll simply say that.
I feel like I have been just a little bit underwhelmed by OAE getting into this rivalry at all, because I just assumed when we were going through the profiles that he would be in Final Four, and it's tough to get there in a rivalry. It can happen.
I agree. I don't think he's got it. He's too embroiled in this. I don't even think Devin is going to have it. Maybe he will. No. I don't know.
Devin doesn't have it.
I think
either.
all these guys are wiped out.
I think
at
it's
least
Dylan,
the regular season will be fun.
It's Sam M. It's Marcus.
Jonathan.
You think Jonathan?
I do. Based on promos.
I can see that.
Then we get to the cocktail party here, and the rivalry is brewing. And of course, Jen comes in and gives her speech, one of the best weeks of her life, very hopeful. Cheers to good night and a hopeful journey. And who pulls her? Who gets that first responder? It's Devin. I just couldn't believe it. Now, I think it's important to note that leading into this, all of these players are having conversations with producers leading into the cocktail party. All of them. Some producer definitely told Devin, pull her first. Just talk to her first. Get it out of the way. Then all the other guys can talk, and it'll be no harm, no foul. They won't be mad. He was 100% told that. And
Go
so he
as
does it.
soon as the champagne glasses hit each other. And now... It was like one of the fastest first responders. I loved it.
It was unbelievable. Just like yank. And now Thomas N is ITMing that he doesn't like this play. And now Thomas N is getting sucked in. It's unbelievable.
Bringing Thomas N into this too. I couldn't believe he's taken down OAE and Thomas. Two in my mind front
This
runners.
guy is a hurricane.
Yeah.
So we then see Grant is telling the other guys that Devin has balls. The second audience, though, is primarily not happy with him. We see this one-on-one time with Devin. And he tries to prepare her for the chaos coming. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, I'm just the loudest in the room. I'm an outbound guy. Nothing's been going on, though. Nothing really to see. I'm just, just in case chaos is coming. And then he says, no matter what day, what time.
Chaos is coming.
He says, no matter what day, what time, what era we're in, you're always going to get that good, bad, and ugly out of me. What era we're in? Is this an Outlander reference? Is he talking about time travel? What era we're in?
Like, here's what I thought it was. Part of a conversation of someone being like, I'm in my girly era. I'm in my whatever. I feel like that's a very like
Outlander
Gen Z terminology. Or it's like what part of this
Scottish
game?
Highland era. Yeah, I don't know.
We're in the hometowns era. Yeah. I thought he played this like preemptive defense pretty well. The part where he is talking about like not feeling like he can always be himself.
Yeah, I mean, when you do a preemptive defense like this, when you're like, look, I'm not saying anything's happening. I'm just saying if chaos does happen, you should be prepared for it. That to me is it's a bad play. Because you're essentially saying, I screwed something up bad and shit's about to hit the fan. Be ready for it. And she can read that. She's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh, nothing. Nothing.
No,
Nothing's
I
happening.
definitely think Devin
Anyway.
is taking himself down with these plays as well. But
Yeah.
wowie.
So the other guys are watching the clock on Devin. Thomas N then comes in for a steal. He's had enough. And he wants to talk to Devin? He's not stealing from Devin to talk to Jen. He's stealing Devin, and Thomas N pulling Devin to talk to Devin, not Jen talking again to Devin, was my error of the game. I've never seen anything this bad. This is one of the worst plays probably in the history of Bachelorette. I just was staggered by it.
It was astonishing, and therefore also my error of the game. I just like, I don't know. Thomas was just the guest on Bachelor Happy Hour. I was like, okay, front runner. And then just see him pull Devin. I was just like, are you joking, dude?
It's wild. I don't mind stealing. Like a steal there is actually good because it kind of pokes the bear a little bit. And then it's like, look, I got to talk to Jen. Steal would have been perfect. But
leaving
instead,
Jen alone is just...
Yeah. And they have this weird one-on-one where they're like basically yelling and Jen is literally standing like 2 feet away on the other side of the wall just listening to it all.
The shot
and
of
Devin's
Jen going to eavesdrop next to the wall was like my favorite shot of the episode. It was cinema. It was gorgeous.
Yeah, I agree.
I loved it.
And you even have Devin trying to be like,
after she hears them
look.
fighting, they're done. Both of them. No chance.
Yeah, Devin is at least aware she's listening, and he's like, look how you're objectifying Jen. He's trying to kind of defend her in that conversation to come out the good guy. But he gets a little heated too. His voice raises. I don't think either one of these guys played this well, but Thomas N was just, I mean, this is very bad. This is probably the worst play we're going to see all season, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's really bad. Really bad. And
he just stepped right into the trap. It's like he wasn't even involved in this. It was OAE and Devin. Now it's Thomas and Devin. He kind of took
completely destroying Thomas's game. He unravels completely here. We see, they're talking about the time, and I feel like it is like it does feel when they're talking about it like it's not your turn in line. It's like, it cringes me out.
But that's open gameplay. I don't mind that when he's like, where did you want me in line? And he's like, 9th, dude. There is a game structure to this. And part of it is the order in which you talk to the lead. That is determined largely by producers.
If you don't win the date, like, that's on you, for your play.
Yeah, I suppose. But I mean, there is that second audience play to be made. They did make the second audience agreement. They did make it. Devin broke it.
Very vague agreement, at least what we saw in the document.
I would say Devin broke it. Not that that's anything that
Devin's
you can like publicly shame him for. Yeah,
for being first responder. I feel like then we see Sam M is calling him 4TRR. Devin and Thomas are
4TWR.
screaming 4TWR. Sorry, and Thomas is trying to get him to talk about the agreement, the gentleman's agreement, and you were the one guy sitting on the couch. Oh, it was great. This is cinema. And
Devin goes to the other guys and he goes, nobody was even talking to Jen. She was just sitting there staring at her Prosecco. And John Mitchell delivered my
Face play of the game.
Now, I didn't see this coming from John. Didn't see it coming. It's a little subtle, but it's a great high eyebrow raise, open mouth kind of like look of shock that anyone would leave Jen alone for even a second. It really, to me, the editing of it punctuated like how much of an error this really was. That like these dudes are shocked that nobody was even paying attention to Jen. We all know it's a game of time. And if she's just sitting there by herself, like any of them could have been in there. It was almost as if he's saying, Jesus, I should have been in there talking to her.
Exactly. If you knew what Thomas was going to do, you should have followed him, snuck behind him, sneak in there. And Sam M then does this steal from Thomas, which I also thought was a great power move because you're seeing this guy spiral. Like you want to go after someone who is not doing well. So then she'll feel relief when you're stealing her.
There's also a moment in the one-on-one time with Thomas N where they sit down and he's like telling her about the second audience agreement and Devin agreeing to it and then going back on it. And Jen tries to kind of defend Devin. She's like, I don't like that the guys are taking my independence away. Like, you don't get to decide who I talk to or in what order. And you see Thomas N's face is just like there's no response to this. He's like, that's fair. He knows he screwed up. Like, it's all over his face.
It's just like you can't ever, your time has to be about getting to know this person because it is a game of time. And then we get this Sam M going after the floundering, screaming guy, and Thomas goes and does a Bachelorette squat on the driveway. Dramatic. And honestly, I do like this play. That is very...
A male squat cry?
A male squat cry. I mean, I love any squat cry, but if you're going to be crying, like, do it outside in a beautiful location where, like, the focus is just on you. That's main character energy.
I agree. Then we
Next
get this...
portion, the cocktail party.
Well, Sam has a little bit of one-on-one time here during it. And he says he was disappointed to not get time with her, but it's still a win for him. And he trusts the process and he trusts her judgment. A lot of small wins. And Jen is like, you make me flustered. I don't like that. And he's like, what makes you flustered? We get a double love level 1 here, in my opinion. And he says he hopes to fluster her because she bothers him. And she's like, why? And we get this making out to like porn music, basically. And
Sexy
then he
time
whispers
music.
to her, yeah, we have to keep it PG. And she's like, she ITM's not understanding their chemistry, but liking it. This guy's just running away with the chemistry game. There's nobody close to it at this point.
It's palpable. We all feel it. It is. And we get the sexy time music to also help us know how to feel. I'm trying to pay more attention to the music to just be like, oh, okay, this is what they want.
They're telling you who's going to be what type of player for sure every time. The full edit music is like the most prevalent. But we get some other little kisses here. Jonathan gets a kiss. Spencer gets a kiss. Then we cut to Thomas N and Thomas A are outside talking about how Thomas N needed to step away before he punched Devin in the face. And of course, the producers launched Devin in like a heat-seeking missile to this conversation. He comes stomping out of the house. What are you doing, dude? And Devin's like, you embarrassed yourself. And Thomas says, go inside. It escalates. Devin says he's not there to fight him. He's there to talk to him. And Thomas says, good, because you get your ass kicked. Whoa! Whoa! That's not going to look good. You got to come
swimmer.
Yeah. Dude, you got to come to a men tell all, dude. They're going to play that clip and be like, what did you mean, Thomas? You like not having the foresight of like, you will be made to answer for everything you do in this game at a live event. None of them seem aware of that. That is mind blowing to me. So they continue this argument and Thomas N calls him the B word and walks off, compounding the error further. And I think
Wait, he did?
Yeah. And we've talked about this before.
I miss that.
Sometimes in professional sports, especially in baseball, if a player makes an error, you just keep making them because now it's in your head and you're like out of the game. I think that's what happened to Thomas N. Yeah. We then see DLP comes in, delivers an 8 ting to let us know that the standard round of play has ended. And we get some turtles and stuff being, sad that they didn't get to talk. Jen then comes in for the rose ceremony in portion 11, says it's been a crazy and exciting, interesting night. She's been enjoying getting to know them, and she's looking for somebody who fights for her, and she knows her ferocious love is there, and that's what's driving her decisions, not the producers. It's her foreknowledge of ferocious love being in that room. Mm-hmm. We then get a rose ceremony. Austin gets that first flower, followed by Hakeem, Spencer, Jeremy, Jonathan, John, Thomas A, Sam N, Thomas N, then ITMs that he thinks it's either him or Devin who's going to go home tonight. And I wrote down, have you ever seen this show, dude? You're both going to stay here to go on a 2-on-1. Like, what are you talking about? And, of course, we then see that's exactly what happens. Devin, Sam N, Aaron, and Thomas N gets the last rose. We see that Tam Sig. And we say goodbye to Jahan Ansari, Brian Otts, and Marvin Goodley. Thank you for your service. You will be remembered. Devin gets the cheers, taking each day like it's the last one. Sam M ITMs that he's a snake, and the only way to stop a force is to meet it with a greater force. So he's even saying, if this guy gets too far, I'm going to have to go head-to-head with him. And then in the teaser, we see Hakeem doing some wild face play in a race car. We see the guys are going to be made to strip on a stage just like they did in Hannah Brown's season 15. Helicopter date with Spencer. Grant makes her happy. Kisses. The guys are genuine. The process is working. OAE, 4TWR, Tattle, Sam M, and Devin start to go at it. Jen has her laying down the law moment as the final moment in this thing. If you're not serious, take a hike. We always get that from our bachelorettes. And that was it for the program.
What an episode.
Fantastic episode. Who was your MVP, Pace
I
Case?
loved it. This was a tough one because there's, obviously in my mind when I think about an episode title, I'm like the Devin Show. He was the star of this episode.
Yep.
However, Dylan was my MVP. I loved his one-on-one date. I thought he played it perfectly. I loved the little moves that he was doing. He was first to the costumes to get the hat he wanted. He was stepping in front of Hakeem to do the snake play. And I just had high hopes for his play.
Devin was my MVP.
I knew it was going to be yours.
I don't know if he's blaze of glorying or not himself, but he definitely knocked out or set the groundwork for the knockout of OAE and Thomason tonight. Potentially some others who might get caught up in that trap. We even saw Sam M is basically saying like the only thing that can stop a force is another force.
Yeah, you're right.
He might
he
come
is
into this
getting
at some
dragged
point.
in.
I don't know. I don't think Devin is going to win the ring. I don't think Devin can wear the crown. What Devin is doing is making himself probably the number one pick for Paradise Season 10.
That was one of my main
Maria,
takeaways of this episode.
Go at it.
I was like, oh, he's absolutely going to be a star on Sand.
I think so too. And for this episode, it's hard to beat the amount of screen time and the amount of kind of effect he had on the overall game, I think. For that reason, he was my MVP. But we'll see what happens next week. I can't wait. God, this season's so good. We're 2 episodes in.
This episode was better than last episode to me. I was riveted. And I liked last episode.
This season feels very much like just golden era Bachelor. Like it feels like a Sean Lowe kind of season to me. I don't know that we've got somebody on the level of a Tira Lakazi, but maybe we do. Maybe. Can Devin pull out something like that? Can OEE pull out? OAE is doing some wild ass plays. Yes. We see him do a generalized 4TWR tattle in the teaser. Like, let me see that. We're in store for one of the greatest seasons, I think, of Bachelor or Bachelorette that has ever been made. To me, that's how this is like pacing out right now. I absolutely love it.
I mean, it was just every date was perfect. And then the cocktail party was perfect.
And the errors are so wild, but they're entertaining. Like that Thomas in error was terrible, but so entertaining. And it lights up all the other guys.
When I saw him say F you in the teaser at the beginning, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, I know.
How?
Wild stuff. But thank you all for joining us. That wraps up our recap of Bachelorette Season 21, Episode 2. Jenn Tran's historic season continues its march of dominance across network television. Very excited to see what these ratings are, and we'll be back this Friday with This Week in Bachelor Nation, where we're going to cover those ratings, all the movements of all these players, who's getting the big Instagram gains, all the news that's happening this week. Of course, there's wild stuff happening always in Bachelor Nation, but I'm sure we might hear a little more about Joan Vassos coming up this week.
What does that mean?
I just think that they're going to start rolling out some of the guys. Maybe we're going to start to see some I don't know, some more promo material or something. They just put out that one short video of her saying like, tune in on whenever the date was. I think we're going to start to get some more golden material coming at us, which I'm looking forward to.
Oh, I can't wait.
Me either.
Yeah, I'm very curious what the social media and parasocial plays in response to this episode are going to be.
I agree. Time will tell.
Praise be Dark Lord Palmer.